Hi and welcome to techsith tutorials. Today we are going to learn about web workers in JavaScript. First we're going to understand what web worker is, and then we're going to do some coding, and I'll give you a very simple example that you can understand. JavaScript is a single-threaded application, which means you cannot run more than one script at the same time. Let's say you want to manipulate some DOM in your user interface, and at the same time you're trying to do some complex calculation. Now the complex calculation can hold the update to the UI and make your page look unresponsive. I'm sure you've seen this this warning where it says unresponsive script, do you want to continue or you want to kill the script? You know, and we all have slow applications, and as we add more functionalities, your applications start to become slower and slower. You must be wondering, since Ajax run asynchronously, isn't this actually multi-threading? The answer is no. That is called non-blocking, which means while you do something, you wait for something else to happen. It's non-blocking, it's not multi-threading. It's still using a single thread, hence it's a single-threaded application. Now, WebWorker provides a mechanism to spawn a separate script in background for your web application, where you can do any kind of complex calculation without disturbing the UI. It's almost like you're delegating some work out to the worker. Communication between page and the worker happens using a simple mechanism. They can send message to each other using postMessage method, and they can receive messages that they send to each other using onMessage callback function. So let's look at a simple example. In this example, my page wants to add two numbers together, and it will delegate that work to worker, and the worker would add this two number and return the result back to the page. So it's a simple example. Let's see how it works. So the first file I have is called webworker-test.html. Here, I don't have any HTML component, just simply a script. And all it does, first line it does, it's check if the webworker functionality is available for the browser. For example, some old browser may not have this functionality, so it just checks for it, and if it's available, then the first thing it does, it creates a new web worker using this constructor. So you would say variable my web worker equal to new worker and the file name of the worker functionality. The second thing you would do, you create a message. So it has these two numbers that it wants to add. So it would create a JSON object. Here it's called message equal to, and it has a property called add this, and within this property I have two numbers, number 1 and number 2, num1 and number 2, and then it has values 1 and 2. Here it's 1 and 1. So it's going to send this message using this third line, which is called myWorker.postMessage. I'll pass this object to the web worker. Now let's look at the worker file. So the worker file, all you have is a simple function called onMessage, which is wait for any activity from the page. So in this case, when a page send a post message, it would receive using this onMessage callback function. Here, it would receive this object e. It's a wrapped object, which means E has this data property, and the data property would contain the object add this that we sent from the page. So it first checks if it's available, and if it's available, then it would take that property, add this, and it would find these two numbers and add them together, and again it would wrap it in another object with a result. and it would post a message again. Now this is posting back to the page. So if you go back to the webworker test.html, it has also a callback onMessage function, which would wait for any response from the worker. And here in this case, it would receive it, and it would extract that result out from the object it sent using e.data.result, and it would console it out. So here I have in a local host, I'm running this server, and I'm gonna run this webworker test.html, and when I do, I'm getting this result back too. If I change the code here and change the number 2 to 3, save this, and run this again, I will get 4. So 1 plus 3 is 4. If you look at this nutshell, you have window space and you have worker space. So from window space, I'm making a post message. I'm running post message and passing an object, and on the worker space, it would receive that message, and it would, in the callback function, it would use that object to do something. You know, it could be adding or doing some complex calculation. It would have, and in the end, it would have some result, and it would send the message back to the page using post message. And again, on the window space, you would have the onMessage callback function, which would receive this message from the worker, and which would be a result. And it would either post a result or do something, update the DOM using it, or whatever. Now, because webworker runs in a separate thread, it does not have access to document object, Windows object, or parent object, which means it cannot do any DOM manipulation from inside of the worker. However, it has access to navigator object, which means it has access to user agent, geolocation, cookie enabled. It also has access to the location object, which is read-only, host name, href, path, etc. It also has access to XML HTTP, so you can make AJAX call as well. You can do timeouts and things. It also has access to application cache, and from one worker you can actually spawn other workers. So you mean delegate some work out to other workers. You can use import script method to load other workers as well. I'll have a separate tutorial which would explain some advanced web workers. And last thing, you can terminate the worker using marWorker.terminate function. Hope you have learned something from this tutorial. If you did, then please follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe the channel, like the video, and provide some constructive comment or question if you have.